The other thing that you're going to want to make sure that you do is some neighborhood research. That includes identifying for sale by owners and expireds in the area. If you spend the time to drive the neighborhood and look up expired listings or notice the for sale by owners, you have an opportunity to make contact with those owners. You can tell them you are sitting in an open house and would like the opportunity to make appointments to bring potential buyers to their home. This can get your foot in the door with a potential listing and give you more to talk about with the people who do come into your open house. So when you're driving around and you're getting prepared, you're looking to see where you're going to place your signs. You're going to look and see if you can see any for sale by owners, and perhaps you've prepared ahead of time the expireds in the neighborhood so you can stop and talk with them. It's an easy introduction to a conversation with these two types of sellers that will allow you to hopefully start a relationship for future business. Another thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you advertise your open house in as many spots and in as many ways as you can. It's being proactive. It's turning what's a purely reactive prospecting method into something that's a little bit more proactive. So our West USA Realty Revelation website allows agents to advertise their open houses on a calendar. So if you're the listing agent, you can upload the advertisement yourself. And if you are not, you can ask the listing agent to do so. But if for some reason they won't or can't, our office can help you with advance notice to get that up onto the website. You can also advertise on the MLS, Craigslist, and various other internet resources. The other thing to think about when you're advertising your open house is you want to make sure that you're telling your database as well that you are doing an open house. I might talk about that later in the class, I can't remember. But what you want to do is if you're creating your open house flyer, shoot that out to your database. Shoot that out to everybody you know. Number one, it shows those people that you're a working realtor, but at the same time, you may be able to increase your traffic because you've done that ahead of time. Securing open house signs. If you don't own your own open house signs, you can borrow them from our office. We have lots of them. You have to get them in plenty of time, just so that you don't show up at the last minute and we don't have any left. But make sure you come in ahead of time. And then we do have a policy about getting those signs back to the office in time. Make absolutely sure that you're aware of that policy before checking out signs from our office, and you do that through the front desk. Sign placement is a big deal. Sign placement can make or break your open house. Make sure you have plenty of signs. Better to have more than not enough. And start from the furthest point away from your open house and move toward the house while you're actually placing the signs. It would be wise to look at a map or drive the neighborhood to make sure that you're covering all the logical routes from busy streets to the home. Place the signs close enough together so that there's no doubt where the house is. A couple of other things. If you're placing an open house sign on a corner that is probably in somebody's yard, it's a great opportunity to knock on that door. Maybe you can even do that ahead of time when we talk about circle prospecting. You'll hear what I mean. And ask for permission to place that sign in that person's yard. First of all, it's professional, but it gives you an opportunity to talk with that person and perhaps pick them up as somebody who's on your database. Where do you not place signs? Make sure that you don't place signs in the middle of a sidewalk. Not only are you just asking for people to knock over your signs, but the police can come by and take your signs from the middle of the sidewalk and confiscate those signs. And if they were to confiscate a sign that you borrowed from the office, that would be your responsibility. The same goes for the median of a busy street. That strip in between the two lanes or more of traffic, you're not allowed to put signs there, and they can get confiscated from that median. Again, on neighbors' properties without knocking on the door and asking for permission. Behind bushes. I see so many open house signs when Chuck and I are driving around that are hidden behind bushes. That doesn't really help you if nobody can see it. And also, don't place signs past the street where people should have turned, unless you also have one before the street. Most people are looking for the sign to tell them where to turn, and if you put it past the street, they're likely to pass the turn. Circle prospecting is something that I highly recommend before you conduct an open house. Circle prospecting is knocking on doors with a purpose. You can greatly increase the traffic for your open house by hand delivering open house invitations several days before your open house. This is also an excellent a way to potentially add people to your database and prospect for business. If you gather people's information, those that are willing to engage in conversation with you, you can even remind them of your open house close to the date and or other open houses that you do in their area. There are some beautiful invitations in Sharper Agent that you can create in just a couple of minutes. And when you approach that door, here's your whole goal. To invite them to the open house, which is a very easy way to start talking to somebody. But then you want to quickly turn that conversation into, are you a buyer or a seller? Do you know anybody who's a buyer or a seller? Or can I keep in contact with you for future business or referrals? That's your point. You don't just want to hand the invitation and go. Although that may help people come to your open house, it's not making the most of a prospecting method. So on the day of your open house, there are several things that you should be doing. Park down the street from the home, not right in front of the home. You want to leave those spaces for people who are visiting your open house. Plus, you don't want to block your own open house sign with your car. Place open house signs from the furthest point back to the home. So normally what I do is I would show up at the open house with all of my things to either let the seller know that I'm there or to get everything turned on and ready inside the house, drop my stuff off, and turn everything on, open all the window coverings, etc., and then go place my signs. Then check the walkway, driveway, and front porch area for cobwebs or just really a lot of pigeon poop or dirt or whatever, and pick that up. Take a few minutes. You should keep a little broom and a dustpan in your car, some paper towels, maybe some Windex, just a little kit so that you can do some quick cleanup to make the impression of the home a good one without a lot of effort on your part. Turn on all the lights, including the closets. Open all the window coverings unless there's something just hideous behind that window. Put all the toilet lids down. Turn on soft music if it's possible. Make sure that there are no obvious valuables that have been left out. On occasion, you'll go into maybe the seller's bedroom and they've forgotten to put away some money or something like that. Go ahead and put it away. And then be sure to tell that seller that you've moved that, put it away, and then you placed it back out just to protect whatever it is that you found. Make sure that kitchen sink is spotless. It's gross when people walk around and see dried ketchup in the sink. So if the sellers haven't taken care of that, just take a moment to get that kitchen sink clean. You're going to be leaving the seller a note and thanking them for the opportunity and the general outcome. We'll talk about that in more detail in a moment. And if it's not your listing, contact the listing agent with all the feedback right away. Then you're going to have to make sure at the end that you turn off all the lights, close all the window coverings, and make sure that the house is secure and locked. So let's talk a little bit more about the letter, the thank you letter that you might leave for the seller at the end of the open house. If it's your listing, you can write whatever you want. They may even be there and you can talk with them directly. But if you're sitting somebody else's open house, the letter that you leave should be free from all feedback. It should only say, thank you so much for letting me sit the open house today. I will update your listing agent with all of the feedback and they can report that to you. You don't want to be the one to deliver the feedback directly to a client that's not yours. You don't know that client well enough to understand how they like to be communicated with or what items they don't want to hear or want to hear. So just leave that up to the listing agent. Go report your findings to the listing agent. Even if the seller is pressing you for the feedback, I highly recommend that you tell them, I prefer to leave that feedback with your listing agent, and I will do that promptly so that they can get back to you. It just can avoid some problems. Finally, when you give the listing agent the feedback, please give it to them on the phone and in an email. If you catch them on the road or in their car or somewhere where they just can't remember all the details, it's hard to capture all the information. It's just very professional to not only call them with the feedback, but give them an email as well. And that's right after the open house, not the next day, not later that night. Do it promptly so that listing agent can report back to the seller promptly.